Hear that? Believe it or not, summer is just around the corner. Luckily, Armor All, America's most trusted auto appearance brand, has what your car needs to get that perfect summer shine. Plus, now through May 31st, we'll give you $5 for every $20 you spend on Armor All products. That means car wash pods, protectant, tire shine, you name it. Find out how to get your $5 rebate at armorall.com. Armor All, less work, more clean. Terms apply.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Single Tracks Podcast. My name is Jeff, and today my special guest is Chris Akrigg. So Chris is known around the world for his incredible bike handling skills and his creative approach to riding on basically anything with two wheels. His latest series of videos focuses on creating fun and challenging bike features out of natural surroundings. Thanks for joining us, Chris.
No, how are you doing?
Doing great. So you're known for your trials riding skills and for being able to ride pretty much any bike anywhere. How did you get started and how do you develop those skills? I
guess the reason I sort of started riding was my dad. He was a motorbike trials rider. And then as a young kid, I used to sort of have a little bike, and he just used to throw that in the trailer with a motorbike, and I just go and, obviously pretend to be a motorbike rider on my little push bike. And then, I guess no real reason, just, having fun and just logical progression, you just get better and better. And then it got to a point where I wanted my own motorbike, and I started riding motorbike trials for quite a long time before cycle trials. And then, there was a local event on, a British Championship round, and I used to ride pushback trials sort of in the background, but it was just like a bit of a thing that I did couldn't get a chance to ride a motorbike. So but I was pretty handy on a push bike. So we went and did this competition. I actually won the class that I entered, and I was like, "Yeah, this is pretty good fun. This is a sport in its own right." So I sort of it just got I started riding bicycle competitions and doing pretty well, and then it just got to a point where my dad was like, "Well, you can do one or the other." It's like I was spending a lot of time, on my push bike and not as much the motorbike, and I just sort of made a choice, and then just went. Just started doing pushback trials more and doing the British Championship series.
Cool. Well, I mean, I haven't done any motorbike riding myself. I mean, it seems like once you do that, you just want to do that all the time. You have all that power and, speed, not in trials, but it seems to me weird that you would choose the push bike. What was it about that made it more interesting for you? Yeah,
I mean, I guess I sort of did it the other way around. A lot of people, go to motorbikes and, like you say, stay on motorbikes. I guess there's a couple of different reasons. For one, when you're a young kid, before you can drive and take yourself around, it was I had to wait, for the weekend or when my dad was available to take me riding, whereas the pushback side of things, I could just go anytime, straight out my door and find stuff to ride. And I don't know, I think it just felt in some ways better, because I felt like the learning curve on the cycle trials for me was a lot more interesting than motorbikes, and the other thing obviously expense as well. If you went out and wrecked a motorbike, because I was getting to a point on a motorbike where I was getting pretty good, doing British rounds and stuff, and it just got to a point where if you had a bad weekend, you'd be, it's an expensive hobby,
right?
And then pushbikes just seemed to be at that point. I was working in a bike shop, so parts were a little bit more accessible for me. So it was that's pretty much what it was, really. Just sort of the expense of it and the accessibility, really.
Right. Interesting. So would you say that bike handling skills come naturally to you, or do you have to work at it a lot?
I mean, a lot of people, there's all sorts of different sort of variations, whether, you're born with it or not. I don't know. I think the thing that I was I was always wanting to progress, and I was very determined. So I think that's as much as, if you want to learn something, you've got no determination, you're never sort of going to learn. But if you got, in your characters, you're a determined person, then I think you just keep bashing away at something until you sort of get it right.
Yeah.
And I think that's what I had and what I still have. I think, especially, I think my motivation and stuff is different now, but, the determination is still the same.
Do you see yourself as a risk taker? Is that part of it? Being able to take those risks and to try new things?
No, I don't think I'm a risk taker at all. Quite the opposite, really. I think I'm pretty calculated in what I do. I can probably name, a couple of times on my hand when I feel like I've been reckless and, maybe just a bit throwing caution to the wind, not knowing generally speaking, when I'm doing something, I'm pretty certain I can do it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's not like saying that I don't want to push myself, but it's like I've always been confident of my ability sort of thing, I guess.
Yeah. And I guess, I mean, that takes time to build up to all those things that you're able to do now. I guess the risk would be if you try to jump to the next level before you're ready, but sounds like putting the time in and practicing and all the hard work is what gets you to where you are.
Yeah, I think from trials is, that's that's my background. And it's not really sort of don't know, it's like you don't see many trials riders really taking any sort of big risks. It's more like, it's all about trying to keep under control at all times.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I've sort of at certain times in, my riding career, like maybe I stepped more into different realms, when I started riding a bit more on the downhill bike and stuff. I think that's more like, I think it's just all that momentum and everything. I think there's more like risk involved in that. I mean, I'm sure the top boys, I don't know, I'd probably argue either way, but for me, when I was riding downhill and, doing more sort of like jump orientated stuff and blasting off bigger gaps and all that sort of thing, I think there's more risk involved in that, I think so.
Yeah. Well, you're modest because, I mean, if I'm watching a trials competition, to me, that stuff looks risky, right? I mean, sure, you're only going to fall 10 feet or something, but it looks pretty impressive. And for a normal person, it does look risky, I guess I would say.
Yeah, maybe it's just because I'm just used to it and it doesn't really, I mean, I don't know if I really class myself as a trials rider now. I mean, I know my roots and that's what it is, but yeah, I guess I am still a trials rider. And I think, I don't think you really realize how hard stuff is until it starts going wrong.
Yeah.
When it all goes nice, it just looks really easy and like, nice and tame. But when things start going wrong and, when you fall, it just shows you how much sort of, how difficult stuff is, I guess.
Yeah. Well, last week I was watching your career documentary From There to Here. And in that video, you said during the early 2000s that for you, like the trials competitions and things like that, it wasn't about the competition anymore. It was starting to be about the bit in between that you were interested in, getting the camera out, finding places to ride. So have things changed for you in terms of your motivation since then, or how you're able to like leverage things like social media now?
Yeah, I mean, at that point where I switched to sort of not wanting to do competition and just, obviously, like I'm saying, the traveling and going to locations and riding more sort of like street oriented stuff. I mean, I'd done like 10 years of competition trials at that point, UK and world stuff, on top of the motorbike trials that I'd done.
Yeah.
And I just got to a point where it's just like, that's quite a lot of years doing it, and it's like, I think obviously like the whole media sort of landscape changed.
Mm-hmm.
Like 10 years before that, I wouldn't have been able to do it because it just wasn't there. And it wasn't like, YouTube and podcasts and all that sort of stuff, and Instagram and all that wasn't there. You couldn't do it. But, it's like, now it's like, I don't know, it's completely different. Sort of like.
Yeah. Well, that was the early 2000s. I mean, YouTube, I guess it was around then. I don't know. Maybe you were one of the pioneers there.
Yeah. I mean, it just started, I think. Yeah. I mean, I think once I started doing back then they were like called podcasts where you put like a little video together and,
mm-hmm.
a lot of time you get them on like iTunes, I think, like early on. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's when everything really changed, really. I mean, I think at that point, I don't think I'd have been bothered either way if I'd have carried on riding or if I'd, it was at a point where, something needed to happen.
Right.
It was like, and I was still sort of working in a shop at that point as well.
Yeah.
So, alongside it. So it would either start riding full time, making videos, or just sort of like put riding on the back burner, so to speak, and just have a sort of semi-normal job, I guess.
Yeah. Well, has it allowed you to be like more creative and to sort of pursue the things that you think are interesting versus, I mean, competition obviously is really rigid and, there are all kinds of rules and things. So how has that changed like your riding style or your creativity, I guess? I
mean, obviously like the competition trial stuff is like, yeah, like you say, super strict, but it all just got to a point where everything was just weights and measures. I always used to say it was like, how high could you hop, all that sort of stuff. And it seemed really regimental. And there was no room for sort of expressing yourself. And I was riding a lot of BMX at the time as well. So that's sort of quite a lot of a spin on my riding because I started picking up, like a different sort of, going from like riding BMX, riding trials to like riding a lot of BMX was just like, wow, this is totally different, like nice and flowy and just like, tricks started coming into my riding. And
yeah.
And I think then rode a bit of downhill as well. raced a bit of downhill for a while, and then I think it just got to a point where just like, and fixie riding, all that stuff just got thrown into like this big melting pot of like different, different riding styles, genres, whatever you'd like to call it, and sort of feel like that with, I'd say like I had a fairly decent eye for seeing what looks good on film. That just all that thrown together it's sort of an ideal situation, really.
Yeah.
And obviously, like, I got lucky with like riding when I first started really riding like suspension bikes and all that sort of stuff. I got on board with Mongoose, and that was obviously I'd gone from being sponsored by a company that had like just trials bikes, and then all of a sudden I opened the door to like fixies, BMX, downhill bikes, whatever other things, like 150 bikes and stuff, and that was just like, wow. Taking all these other bikes and just putting my spin on it, putting a trial spin on it. It's that was just like, right, okay, I'm back into riding now. I'd sort of fallen out of love with bike riding, really.
Interesting.
And then like, when I started doing videos and riding for Mongoose, that was just like, right, cool. That's just like, it's, there's no limits now, really. Like, like, not to sound too silly or anything, but it's like, it's just as much as you want your imagination sort of.
Yeah, that's really cool to be in that position. I mean, I was going to ask about that transition from competition to the more creative stuff. It seems like, especially at that time, a lot of sponsor racers, competitors, and, they would look at results and like, what are you doing for them in terms of that stuff? But then shifting to this more of like a creative approach, was that hard at the time? Like, was it risky, or did the Mongoose thing just kind of fall into place and they were like on board from the beginning?
I think for me, it was better for me as soon as I started doing all the, it's not as big as it is now, but when I first started doing videos and stuff, I was like pretty early into it. I was like, as soon as that sort of started coming around, I always used to film anyway. I just had a camera and we just used to film each other just doing stupid stuff. And it just got to a point where all of a sudden it's just like, oh, we should put this together and then we can put it out. And then there started becoming ways and means of doing that.
Right.
You can't sort of, to people coming up nowadays, you can't just get it across how difficult that used to be.
Yeah.
Compared to now, you got your phone, you just go, cool. 2 seconds later, it's, you've made a video, you've put it up, and
right.
100 people have seen it or whatever. Back then, it was just like, yeah, in a month we can have got some footage. We'll have somehow got it together on a bloody computer that takes a week to edit, and then put it out onto something that nobody's going to watch. So it's completely different now.
Right. Yeah. When you film your videos, especially like this series that's coming out this week, actually, what's your like film crew like? Is it just like you and a camera, or do you have like a couple buddies that go out with you, or like how big of a production is it these days for you?
It's gone from literally sort of press ganging people to come and film me. So, I'd have I'd find something to ride. I'd be just like, right, give a couple of people a ring. Right. He's not available, or he is, whoever's around. Come here. I'll set a tripod up. You press this button, this red button. And then you want me in the frame, like, this. And then when I move there, do this. And then,
You're the director and the actor.
Yeah. And then if nobody was around, I'd literally just put it on a tripod, and, that was my film crew. But now it's, I've got to a point where, I've got like a guy that I use quite a lot, and he's really good. We get on really well. Got a good, got a good setup. And yeah, I just find stuff, or we just throw an idea around together, and then just give him a ring. It's like, you available this week or whenever, these 2 days, and then we'll just go and get together, have a bit of an idea, and he sort of knows what I like, and he knows what I like, so we just go and do that. And yeah, it's really good. It's lets me concentrate on riding, and he can do his thing and I can do my thing. It's just an easy setup. Yeah,
that's really nice. So in one of your videos, you talk about your approach to riding that sounds really familiar to mountain bikers, getting from point A to point B without putting your foot down. What is it that you find so satisfying about cleaning a technical trail, or like a really big feature that you find along the way?
I think that's just ingrained from, my trials background, really, because that's all that is, A section in a trials of competition is literally getting from A to B without putting your foot down. I think that's just, I just find sort of small competition lines that, are probably more aesthetically pleasing than hopping around on a back wheel, which, as much as it's amazing and the lads nowadays are super talented, it's, I think it doesn't look sometimes that pleasing, but still, it's like, if it gets to a form that it's so technical, I don't think it can be. That's one thing that I really like to do. finding something that's crazy technical and difficult to ride, and then, trying to make it look good as well.
Yeah. So how do you deal with like failure in that situation or frustration? Like if you see a section, you're like, all right, I want to ride A to B without putting my foot down, and you don't get it the first try or the second try or the 10th try. Like, what do? How do you like get in the mental space to make it happen?
I think it's like a cycle, really, to be fair. It's like a cycle thing, it's like if you go and do something first time, it's like, well, that's all well and good, as long as it's good. But, generally speaking, if I did something first time, I'd probably want to change it to make it harder, or put some extra in there to make it harder.
Yeah.
But it's just a cycle thing. I think it all depends on how literally you've woke up that morning, how you're feeling. It's like, if you've got plenty of energy and stuff, it's not really that. It's just, right, okay, we've got a challenge on his hands. And it's sometimes like a joke to Will, like the filmer, go out with quite a lot. And it's just like, right, here we go. This one could be first time. This could be like thousandth time. It's like you just don't know. Like sometimes it's like that. Yeah, but it does get frustrating, and it can come out in a bit of shouting or, all that sort of stuff. You just got off the vent sometimes, or it probably goes from being quite calm to, shouting some interesting words probably.
Are there ever times where you just have to give up? You just have to say like, nope, like that's not happening. Or are you like super hard headed and you're like, I've got to do it and I'm going to stay out here till it gets dark?
Yeah, probably. I'd like to say that I've like probably chilled out a little bit with that. If I get into a battle and I know that I should have had it, if I know that I can do it, and I'll stay there for as long as my body will allow. And that's normally quite a decent amount of time, really, because you sort of just like you get some sort of, some energy boost, and it's like you're just scraping the barrel massively, to sometimes do stuff. And then at that point, if you do something and you've just been doing it for that long, sometimes it's just like, I should have had that like, an hour ago sort of thing. And you're just annoyed with yourself. Or sometimes it can be like you get it and you'll just think, top of the world, amazing, but
yeah,
it's all to do with like sometimes what it actually is you're riding as well. If you're riding something quite dangerous, you don't want it to be more than one go, you want it to be, you want to get it straight, there's no room for error. So it's just like, you've got to be super calm. You just got to be on your game and know, you just got to hit a mark, And then some other stuff, it's like, well, it's not dangerous in a way, but it's going to be super technical, and you just want everything perfect. Yeah. Then I'll do something, and then like Will will just say, "Oh, we got that," and I'm just like, "No, like my pedal, or I pedal back. I did a half pedal or something, or like I don't know. I'm pretty anal, I guess, about some stuff."
Yeah, that's interesting. That it sounds like if it's dangerous, sometimes maybe that like focuses you down even more, where you're like, I'm going to get it right the first time, versus if it's not dangerous, you're not as focused on it, and I don't know. It seems like it's a mental head game for sure. Yeah, massively, always. I guess that's just any sort of riding discipline, and probably goes across, a massive board as that. If something's a bit sketchy, you sort of do focus because you have to, because the side effects aren't great. Yeah. Well, it seems like too, just from all your experience with trials riding and all the technical things that you do on the bike, that seems like that would carry over into like confidence in life, right? Do you feel like you're able to deal with challenging situations like in your personal life better because of like what you've learned through your bike riding? I don't know, really. I've never really thought about that. Good question. I don't know. I think I'm pretty practical. I think from a riding point of view, I think that's what's, I'm a very, very practical, hands-on person. I can sort of, I don't know. I guess maybe I see things differently than other people, but everything's sort of overcomable. It's easy to sort of like work out. Yeah. A problem. Like it's not a problem. It's just like, right, how can we do this? It's not just like, start screaming and hooting a whole. It's just like, no, it's just like, I'll take a step back and work it out, and then attack, sort of thing. Yeah, that's a great way to look at stuff. So your riding style is really physical, and obviously you have to have a lot of strength and endurance to get through some of the lines you choose for yourself. And then on top of that, sessioning things over and over again, especially when you're filming. So how are you able to train and keep your fitness levels so high? I don't train, is really the honest answer. Yeah, I've never been to a gym. Every time I went to a gym is when I broke my leg. And that was just like rehab. And that was like, obviously, because I'd been off a bike for months and months and just had to get some strength back into my little skinny leg. But other than that, no, I've never done any
any gym work or any of that sort of stuff. Never trained. But I mean, like, I think then like people would probably look at what I actually do and think, well, it's just I just ride my bike, you know.
Yeah.
And sometimes I sort of go through phases. I'm really weird. Sometimes I'll ride every day. Sometimes I'll just won't bother for a week.
Oh wow.
And I've always been like that since I was younger. I just worked out one day that going riding when you're not into it just don't make any sense, because it's just like, I'm really bad if somebody says go and do something, I won't do it. Like I don't want to be told what to do, even with if I tell myself, pardon me, to go riding.
Yeah.
It's just like it just doesn't work for me, you know. And then I think at the start of this year, I've done a little bit more I've been trying to go out and just ride technical stuff. So I've not really been going. Sometimes I do XC rides and stuff, but not maybe like a good little 14-mile loop or something like that, which around where I live is like super hilly. So I guess if you wanted to call that training, it's training, you know, but I don't do it that often. But I think like we were joking about like you said, that the little series that I've sort of started, it's almost like filming's just, for me personally, like filming is just like where I like to put my energy. And if like, you know, if I go filming, once I start filming stuff, it's just like, that's when you just, even like if you're just going like for 4 days, 5 days filming, you sort of, you really feel it.
Yeah.
And that just like, you know, it keeps your level up. But I feel like I like going, recently I've just been doing a lot of technical stuff. So I've not really been doing like miles or anything. It's just been literally going to a local place, which is like 4 and 5 miles away, just loads of rocks and like little climbs and stuff, and do some technical stuff, do some technical climbs and all that sort of stuff. So it's just keeping you sort of bike fresh, you know, bike fit, I guess.
Well, I mean, what part of riding would you say is physical versus mental? I mean, it almost sounds like you're saying you're almost like able to will yourself into doing these things that, you know, the body is not like necessarily what's going to hold you back. It's just like, are you feeling it today? And if not, then you're not going to do it. Yeah,
I think it's just autopilot as well a lot of the time. It's, you know, I've been doing it. I'm pretty old now, and I've been doing it since I was like, you know, riding probably bikes since I was, you know, maybe I think I remember my first bike was like, you know, like riding sort of semi-technical stuff when I started doing rocks and stuff. We were like 7 years old.
Oh, wow.
So it's a long time. So it's like, I can't get on my bike and do stuff on it. It's going to be a bit of an issue, isn't it? I've been riding for like, you know, over 30 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just, I guess it's just all there. But I mean, it's probably wrong to say that I don't train. It's just that I don't see it as training, if you know what I mean.
Oh, yeah.
It's just being on the bike, really.
Right. Interesting.
That's all I like doing, really.
Have you had to change that approach as you've gotten older, or has it, I mean, it sounds like it's pretty much stayed the same for you.
Yeah, for me, it's just like, it's always been, if I'm into riding and I really want to go riding, I'll go riding. If I'm not feeling it that day, I just won't bother. It's like, it's not, oh, bloody hell, I haven't been out for 5 days. I really need to go out today to do something. It's just like, look outside and it's absolutely smashing it down. It's freezing cold, which it is today. It's like, you know, maybe when I was, you know, 20 years old, I might have probably gone out. But now it's just like, you know, it's not that I'm not motivated enough. It's just like, you know, I know that one day is not going to do me any, you know, it's not going to change my riding career. And if I go riding today, you know, I'll go tomorrow when it's, you know, I'm into it and do twice as much, or, you know,
interesting.
Just find it fun. And I think, you know, like people might look at it and think, well, you know, you should be riding every day and all that sort of stuff. But it's like keeping motivation going for, you know, I've been riding for Mongoose for 12 years, I think. And then that was like, I think I've been on the world team for like 11 or 12 years. And then before that, I was, you know, on other various other people. So I've probably like had some sort of sponsorship on a bike since I was about 18, 19.
Yeah.
So probably 20 odd years of, you know, bike riding. So like, it's like, you know, it's a long time to keep motivation, but like it's still all there, you know, which is good.
Yeah, that's really awesome. You mentioned having a broken leg at one point, and you've had various other injuries as well over the years that I imagine kept you off the bike for a little bit of time. How do you approach recovery from both a physical and a mental standpoint? When you're young, you don't really think about it. It's just like, you know, you do something, it's just like, I didn't really sort of attack it from any angle. You know, it wasn't really that important. It was just like, right, it'll get better and then I'll just start riding again. But I guess, you know, like I guess a lot of professional athletes will tell you they're pretty much a physio by the time they've been doing it for a while. You know, it's like, if you feel something's gone, you probably had something similar, or, you know, somebody who has, or, you know, you can pretty much like
know what you're in for. So it's, you can set yourself up for it. I mean, the broken leg is my worst injury. And that was just like, you just wanted to, obviously just do every single thing you could do to get back on the bike at that point, because you just knew that it was going to be like, this is different. It was a totally different injury to what I'd had. It was like a lot of injuries in one sort of thing. I did my wrist and I did my leg, like femur into 4 pieces, which were pretty severe, so it was like,
jeez,
it took a long time to heal, and it was like getting pretty worrying at one point. So it was like, and then, yeah, I mean, from a mental point of view, you just need to be like super strong. I was like mega focused all the way through that. I like really took it seriously, like, really into like, eating properly. Like, I mean, I don't eat bad, but it was like, you just research it and find out, you really get yourself sorted for it.
Yeah.
So you just think it's just like a lot of things. You just get better at dealing with things the older you get.
Mm-hmm.
And I've always like, like if you want to get, if you're a professional athlete, you want to get back to doing what you love, and at the end of the day, it's your sort of job as well, so that factors in as well.
Right.
But a lot of people don't know I broke my leg again pretty much a year to the day after that.
Oh, no.
Yeah. So that was a tester.
Oh, man.
Yeah. It was all healed and stuff, and they were like, yeah, cool, it's all good. And I just started like really getting back on my bike, and I was like in up a mountain in Austria, came around the corner, like I've been going pretty hard all day, and I was like, right, just take a step back, steady away, like, and I was like, just at that point where I was just like, right, I'll sit at the back of this group now and just chill out,
Yeah.
And came around, clipped a pedal straight over the handlebars, got like trapped in the bike, and the bike like twisted my leg around, like, and I got a spiral fracture off my my fracture site off my old one. So basically, like, broke my leg in Austria, and then so that was like, yeah, a tear came to my eye that day, because it's just like,
yeah,
as you can imagine, you just got back going again, and it's all of a sudden it's like, like, I know exactly what I need to be doing now.
Right.
And I'd driven to Austria.
Oh, man. You drove yourself home after that?
Yeah, 23 hours, door to door.
Jeez.
But I had a steel rod in my leg anyway, so it wasn't going anywhere. It's just like a lot of pain for 23 hours.
Yeah. Oh, I really like what you said. I mean, it sounds like the mental approach is, you're able to take that like focus and that competitive energy and put it toward your recovery, like you're not on the bike, you can't do that stuff. And so if you just focus on getting better and doing all the physical therapy and eating right and doing all the stuff you need to do, like that'll get you back. And at least it gives you something to focus on, some like goal to work toward, which makes a lot of sense.
I think for me as well, I mean, that was quite a while ago now, but like at the time I remember, I mean, I think if you've been riding for a long time, or if you've been doing something for a long time, you just think, when are you going to get a feeling of just like, you don't want to do it anymore or something? And it's just like, well, at that point, you'd be probably thinking, you'd be pretty low on it all and be like, well, maybe now I'd just start looking into doing something else. But for me, like, it was like really, it felt good for me, because I was like, come out of it, got back on my bike, and just like, yeah, I really know that I still love and really want to ride my bike,
Oh, yeah.
So it's like a really sort of, not that you need it, but like it's a good assurance that, you still love it and you want to get back on your bike that much and do your thing, It's like, so you fall in love with riding again, I guess, because you got to almost go and relearn stuff.
Right. Yeah. It's like makes you appreciate it all the more. That's really cool. So you've done a lot of films and really cool projects during your career. Which ones have been your favorites?
Don't know. I think like did one like called 5, and that was like 5 different bikes in one video.
Oh, right.
And it was just like, that was always like, that was a real fun one to do. And then there's been like, I don't know, there's been so many. It's hard to choose really, because each one's got its own little particular sort of quirkiness going on. And it's, I think As It Lies because that was all shot like real local to me.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that was one of my, that was a really hard video to do, because there was a lot of really hard, from a grip point of view, like super slippy.
Mm-hmm.
It was all like really slippy and really hard to ride. But I mean, sometimes you just can't get across how difficult stuff is to ride on film, and it's just like age-old thing. You just...
Oh, I think you did. I watched that video. I'm like white-knuckling my seat because I'm in my chair, because I'm like, oh my goodness, you would slip on that stuff.
There's some funny moments out of that. Like, I can't just remember. We hadn't, like, my girlfriend at the time is now my wife, and that was the first time she'd actually come with me filming to watch me film.
Yeah.
So she'd never seen me like ride. she sort of half knew what I did when I was out and about, but she didn't realise like how serious some of the stuff was, like how hard it is. And that's a lot of people come out and they just go, is that thing from that video? Just like, yeah. It's just like, what? Which is annoying sometimes, but like really, affirming as well. And now she was there and we were like, it was a blind drop. It's a drop that looked nothing on that, and it's a really nasty, narrow landing. And it was like you had to come around, and I'd literally like got a rock and like marked a little line on it.
Yeah.
2 lines, so I knew, but you couldn't see the drop until you got on top of it.
Yeah.
And there's a little hollow, and you had to go off it. And I was tripping out because I went into it a couple of times and like just got to the edge, and I was just like, oh man, this is grim. Like I need to be. I just don't know how this is going to land, So I was like, So I just said to Will, right, I'm going this time, no matter what. I'm just going to go, like, and then whatever will be, sort of thing.
Yeah.
And like, I don't think I think Will chopped it out, but like Jem were like behind this rock, like hiding because she couldn't watch it.
Wow.
She was like, yeah. I mean, it's good sometimes when you're out filming. There's people's getting nervous. It knows you're doing something well if you're doing.
Yeah, that's awesome. And so you did that just one time, right? Like. You rolled up to it a bunch of times, but then you only did it once and you're like, good, we got it.
I got away with it so bad. Like it was, I have to say, like there's a handful of occasions, probably when I think about this, probably a lot more, but there's a handful of occasions I can remember thinking this is, like it could go either way, especially like with blind drops, like, like them sort of things. Yeah. You just don't. Blind drops and like little technical bits just before you drop as well, because that was like there's a little hollow that got your wheel as well, so you had to drive through that as you were dropping off, so you really couldn't, it was just like an educated guess to how it'd feel when you did it, sort of thing. Yeah,
and you said earlier you don't take risks.
Yeah, I mean there's a handful of times, but you just go into autopilot sometimes.
Right.
You have to.
Right on. Well, so what are your favorite places to ride off-road? Do you like the stuff local to you, or are there places that you like to travel to ride and check out? Yeah,
I think local stuff's like, I really like local stuff because you can always these places where I go riding sort of every week. Mm-hmm. It's good because you know them areas so well. They're only really small areas, but you've got your little warm-up line, you've got your stuff, and it's like, for what I do, you can just a lot of time just find different lines in like a really small area,
right?
Or a variation of that, and then a variation of that, and then add this to it. And that's what I like to ride. Like that's sit down, chill out, and then do a little bit more riding, and just like that sort of stuff's really cool. But yeah, I don't know. I've been a lot of places, and nothing really springs to mind. I mean, there's been a lot of amazing places, but I don't really ride tracks and that sort of stuff, or I don't really ride, like trail centers,
right? Yeah,
and all that sort of stuff, or like downhill tracks and all that. So
yeah, just anywhere that you can find rocks and
a lot of people go Whistler and all this sort of stuff. Just like that is probably amazing, but I'd probably have just as much fun going to like some derelict house and finding some shitty line to ride, which is it's totally honest, that's
yeah.
But yeah, I like going up to Spain. That's always been good for me. I like going out like around the Malaga area and stuff like that. We're going there in like a couple of weeks and go quite a lot. I like Malaga as a city and just like the whole area around there. But that might just be because I've spent a lot of time over the last 10 years there.
Yeah.
Know a couple of people there, and it just feels, like a second home to me. So yeah, I like that area.
Cool. I mean, do you like desert riding? I mean, that seems really different from where you are, like big rocks that are dry, and compared to where you're used to riding, which is, wet and mossy and who knows what else.
It's so bad at the moment, dude. You just don't even want to know. It's been raining for like last 4 days or something, like flat out rain.
Oh man.
But yeah, I don't know. You get used to it, don't you? You're a product of your environment. I've always said that. It's if you live somewhere warm, it's like you probably don't like it if you go somewhere cold and wet,
Yeah.
And it's not something that I've really. I mean, it bothers me a little bit because sometimes you just want to go out and ride some grippy rocks.
Yeah.
And then sometimes like that's the fun of it, finding grip where there isn't any. It's like
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's why I like going to Spain because everything's so dry. It's but yeah, or anywhere where it's dry and sunny, it's great. I do enjoy it.
Yeah,
probably enjoy it more nowadays.
Right.
I think that's one thing we're getting older. You definitely feel it more in the cold when you're filming. Definitely you do. Like your next day, you wake up like if you're somewhere warm, you feel a lot better than if you do when you wake up and you're freezing cold.
Yeah. Huh. Yeah. Do all your filming in the summer, I guess, and then just release the videos during the year.
Yeah. I think we're gonna. I'm not sure. There's a couple of places that we've been sort of looking at going. I'm going to go filming in 2 weeks somewhere. But we haven't. It will be warm, somewhere warm for a week.
Nice.
We haven't really nailed it down yet.
Yeah.
We'll make a decision soon.
Cool. So for your latest project, you're focusing a bit more on building your own creative technical features, from what I understand. Is this something you've always done yourself, or is this like a new interest, sort of the idea of trail building or creating obstacles?
Yeah, I mean, I got through, there was like a little period of time when I first started like really setting out to film stuff that I was going out and building really random little setups, you know, like in disused factories and like, you know, all quarries and stuff like that, and just building little fun lines. And that's just something that, I don't know, like fizzled out really. I mean, a lot of stuff that I ride now, pardon me, it's so laughable, like how I set stuff up. It's like, you know, literally I'll find something, just put a couple of rocks in, kick something in with my foot, and then I'll be just like, that'll do, you know, crack on. But yeah, I mean, the new little series that I've sort of started, I mean, I'm hoping it's going to be a series because we'll see how it goes down. But like, yeah, it all sort of started as I was looking for trying to do some photos that I haven't done for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And one of my friends and myself were just like, oh, you know, we sort of want to do some photos. So we started like scouting around and found a couple of little things. And then we were just like, oh, we should maybe film like the process of like finding the spot and building a little spot and, you know, getting a nice shot out of it and all that sort of stuff. And the idea was I did need some building. So I thought, oh yeah, that'd be cool. Just go in, film the whole process and then just sort of see how it looks, you know. And then I sort of found this spot to do this line on, then found a couple more lines like all sort of intertwined with one really small area. Sort of realized that it could actually be like its own thing. So that's sort of like progressed over like, you know, a couple of days, and then we're just like, oh, tell you what, we'll just go and film it and see what we can get out of it. Yeah. And yeah, I think it's like it's a slightly different thing. Obviously, you know, it's so easy. It's easy to just go away for a week and film and throw it all together, and then, you know, it's like a banging edit or whatever. I hope it is, but I think this is like a little bit more. So I guess it's like more, if you want to call it, behind the scenes, but not really that. It's like it is the scene, you know. It's like there's no real like nothing's really made up. You know, we did, you know, I built everything, you know, and somebody shot photos for something else, and we filmed it for the project that's, you know, coming out next week. Yeah. So I mean, and then there's sort of like that system of going and finding something, filming the whole, finding it, building it, and riding it. I just thought, yeah, it could be a really cool little feature that we could, like, you know, replicate through the year. Yeah. Alongside doing, like, you know, other edits really. Yeah. Well, it almost sounds like you're building like a little mini bike park or mini skills area. And I think that resonates with a lot of people, you know, a lot of mountain bikers, especially because over the years, it seems like the culture has become driving for an hour or whatever to get to a trail center and then doing a ride and then driving home. But I guess you're kind of showing a different side where you can identify stuff that's super local to you, like in your backyard or, you know, just around the corner, and finding ways to make mountain biking more fun, like on a local level and on a really like smaller scale. For me, that's what it's always been. You know, I mean, I've not been to many trail centers. I mean, there's trail centers near me, you know, like there's one 40 minutes away. It's really good. You know, I've been there. I go there when I've got friends staying because it's just a cool place to go and do that sort of thing. But if I go riding, I never choose to go to somewhere that's designed to, you know, to ride. You know, it's just like you go out and it's just something that I've done, you know, throughout my career really. Yeah. Obviously, apart from racing downhill or riding downhill, because that's a different kettle of fish really. You know, you need a hill really. And there's not many big hills around here, so you sort of have to travel for that. For me anyway, you know. But yeah, I don't know. It just sort of like show how you can sort of see outside the box a little bit, and you don't need to go on. Not necessarily that you don't need to go there, but it's just like, you know, maybe one day you could just go into some woods and find an interesting feature and see what you can get out of it. Yeah, I think that'll definitely resonate with a lot of people. Yeah. Because, yeah, that's kind of the way things are going. People want more local experiences. That's really cool. I mean, I hope it goes down all right. I mean, it's just one of them, really. I mean, it's not something that I'm only going to do. You know, it's going to be alongside like going away and doing some, you know, some more usual stuff. We'll see. Very cool. So what else is on your radar for the rest of this year and in the years to come? Yeah, I think it's going to be a good year. I had a couple of changes around sponsor-wise this year. So just been sort of like trying to up my game a little bit this year because I don't know, like I had a lot going on last year that was just sort of more, don't want to make it sound like bad, but, like more life stuff sort of going on, so it was like, I mean, I was busy on the back burner putting the big project together, from there to here, which took a lot more time than sort of we thought. But, and like got married and moved house and did all that sort of stuff. And, it was a really good year, but like from a ride, I mean, I was still riding this year. I just it sort of got me really focused on going out and getting a load of stuff done. So I've got a load of good ideas and ideas that have probably been floating around for a while. I just want to go and do them really. So as I said, going to go out and in 2 weeks and try to put a little bit more time into like an edit, like a banging edit. Because a lot of time we sort of got into like a little system of like going somewhere for like 5 days and just smashing myself to bits for 5 days. And then like, whatever we have. And I just feel like I'm probably going to sort of split it up into a couple of trips. And it just sometimes puts quite a lot of pressure on you to like just be banging stuff out in areas that maybe you could find something better if you had more time. So I'm going to try really sort of put a lot of effort into like focus on like 2 or 3 banging edits. And then alongside that, do the process, something we can go and do like in a day or two and just bang some of them out. And I think we could have some real good fun with them. I've already found a couple more ideas, just trying to find my feet with it. But I think like running a little series alongside some banging edits will be good, really. I think that's where we're going to go with it this year. Yeah,
that's great. Well, we always enjoy watching your videos and really stoked to see what you're able to do this year and in the seasons to come.
Long may it last.
Great. Well, thanks, Chris, for joining us. Really appreciate it. It's been awesome talking to you.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
So you can keep up with Chris on YouTube, on his YouTube channel. Just search Chris Akrigg, and also you can find him on the Mongoose YouTube channel as well, his latest series. That's all we've got this week. We'll talk to you again next week. Peace.